Today I have on the most amazing guest. When I did the pre-interview, I swear I must have sworn and said curse words 300 times because I just couldn't get over her story was so outstanding, amazing, cutting edge, uh, just different. And so I'm super excited for you guys to hear her story today. So let's do this. Hello, everyone. This is Meredith with a Y, and I am your host, Meredith Willits. Today, we are going to go deep, changing lives, and I am giving you the keys to the castle. We have Paloma Lopes here today with me. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your amazing story that I have been having to live with for a month without telling. And I'm so happy you're finally here to tell it. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. You're the first person who I've told this story to that doesn't think I'm a crazy person. So it's been sticking with me too.
So everyone knows that I always do pre-interviews before, just to kind of get a vibe of where we're headed and what series we should end up in. And I had no idea that you were going to tell me the COVID story that you were going to share, because yours is kind of a COVID story.
Yeah-ish. Yeah, it helped me complete it, I guess.
Right. So when we first started talking, you're like, I work for a tech company. Hey, I'm also like in your area, in the Chicagoland area, blah, 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 blah. And so tell everyone what, okay, tell us how, so it started out, you're working, you're in HR and go.
Yeah. So I'm in HR at a tech company, like you had said. So definitely a very male dominated company, industry, and all of that stuff. Got pregnant and didn't really say anything to anyone. And then COVID happened. So that kind of allowed me to keep that hidden from my work life. I mean, honestly, some people probably still don't even know, or they don't know until now. I did tell my boss, but even that was very COVID related, and it was sooner than I had planned. We were doing some layoffs, and I couldn't sit there and go through each person with him and not, say, by the way, at the time I was planning on taking a full maternity leave. So you probably should know this if that's going to affect any decisions there too, because that wouldn't have been fair to the rest of the company.
So when you first found out you're pregnant, were you kind of like in that, okay, I'm waiting 3 months before I tell anyone kind of energy? When you were still physically going into the office, you're like, I'm not telling anyone because I want to wait 3 months. And that's very normal. And that's very, in line with so many other women.
I think I was very much like, I'm not going to tell anyone until I have to tell anyone.
Why?
I just didn't want to. And I'm not saying this is about anyone at my company or that people do this necessarily. It was just kind of something that I've observed and maybe have been guilty of too. I didn't want to be written off for different opportunities because I was pregnant.
And that was in the beginning, or like you were just kind of still figuring out?
When I was trying to be pregnant, that was part of my plan. Like I was just not going to say anything until I had to. I mean, we all assumed that life would be normal, and at a certain point I couldn't hide it anymore. So
however, COVID happened, sent your butt packing out of the office.
Yeah.
And so you went from pre-pregnancy, man, I want to have a baby, but I really don't want to become a statistic or a quote pregnant woman who's sidelined. And then it was, okay, I'm not ready to tell anyone yet. And now we're going to be sent home, and now your boobs up, your waist up, your pants doesn't matter on. And so, it's a chest up moment. And so you're doing your calls. What's going through your head that I just don't want to tell anyone still?
It was just that. It was just every day I didn't want to say anything. And then all of a sudden I was, working on Wednesday knowing I'm getting induced on Friday. So it just kind of blew by. And I know that happened to everyone in COVID because every day was exactly the same.
Groundhog Day.
It still is, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was very obvious. There were times when I was even bouncing on a medicine ball, but I guess if you're not expecting it, then
Right. Like, who's going to assume that
yeah, yeah.
she's doing this because she's pregnant? I mean, no
Mhm.
one's going there.
Yeah.
And what did your husband know you weren't telling work? Was this like a just choice, or is this the snowball running down the hill that it's just like, I'm not going to bring it up now? I mean, shit, I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm 9 months pregnant. I'm not going to bring it up. Or was this a conscious, concerted effort of, I don't want anyone to know still?
It definitely, I mean, I eventually told the people who I worked very closely with, but in terms of our executive team or our investors, like I didn't want them to know. And there have been women who were pregnant and, for some of them it was great and others it didn't turn out so well. So I just didn't want to give anyone the opportunity to write me off, and myself too. I didn't want to be complaining about being pregnant at work and, having excuses for not meeting my deadlines or being late for a meeting or whatever it may be. Like, sure, I use that as an excuse plenty of times in my personal life, but I just didn't want it on any side of the equation as a scapegoat, I guess.
Yeah. And this, so when we were talking during the pre interview, and it just sat with me, I mean, this isn't for everyone. I
No,
mean, clearly, this is your story, and we're not trying to tell anyone that's out there that anyone should be doing this or this is the right or wrong
no.
way. It's just so interesting because I had never really fully, because as a wife, as a mom, as a pregnant woman, that is such a huge definition of who we are. You know what I mean? Like, as a
Yeah.
woman, it just becomes, you're a mom. You're a mother of four. Instantly, there's what a mother of four looks like. She's busy. She's constantly cooking.
Can't drink her
She's
coffee. She can't brush her hair. Like, it's craziness. Yeah.
exactly. And there's that shelf and there's the drawer that we put mother of four, mother of two, single mom,
Yeah.
mother of one child, a triplet mom. We all know what that painted picture that the world has created by way of stories or social media or whatever, by way of people we know, and what that includes. And you took that from everybody. No one was allowed to define you. And it's
Yeah.
so intriguing to me.
I didn't even realize it was that big of a thing
Until you met
until,
me.
well, no, even until I became a mom, and all of a sudden everything was like mom friend, mom tip, mom that. And I'm like, aren't they just life tips? Like, one of my best friends had a baby, relatively close to me. And all of a sudden now we're mom friends. We were talking about probiotics yesterday and she's like, thanks for the mom tip. And I was like, that is a life tip. I don't know why it has to have a label,
Mhm.
Prior to this, I wasn't, daughter Paloma. It's so weird to me. And I think part of it, honestly, is like, obviously I knew subconsciously that this was just kind of what society has created. And maybe I was really afraid of that. I kept being like, am I going to turn into a completely different person? Even, I love my dogs so much. And everyone was like, you're not going to care about them when the baby comes. And I was like, what do you mean? And so I didn't want to give into it maybe. And
Yeah.
now kind of being even a mom fully, I embrace it. It's part of who I am, but I still don't want that to be the only thing that I am. And some people still don't know I have a kid, and he's so cute and he's so fun. And, especially now, he's all I do for fun, but he's not my entire being.
It's just marvelous. I mean, when I talk to you, I just swim in the autonomy of not being judged, labeled, defined by anything. And I just ended a phone call with someone and I was talking about when my second husband and I had gotten married, and I went from being the single mom making $12 an hour, right,
Yeah.
to my husband being the vice president of the Philadelphia Flyers NHL hockey team, and I'm getting whisked in the side door and up into a suite and all the food for free and front row seats. And I was just making $12 an hour, barely making ends meet as a single mom 5 minutes ago. Clearly, this is why I married my husband. Just kidding. and and so we were living this life for 6 years, and then one day it's gone.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, holy shit, I don't know who I am anymore, because I believed the bullshit. I believed that I was Jim's wife and I was a part of this, whatever. And none of that's true. Like, none of what I own is true. You're not a mom. You're not a wife. You're still Paloma. You're still Meredith. And, I think that as I'm saying this, it's so interesting, because I think as women, we get bogged down by all these existential attachments and definitions. And then also, then now we are this child's mom, and so they have to succeed to buff up our ego. They're an extension of who we are.
But that's unfair to them too.
Totally.
And it's such a slippery slope. You see it time and time again. And then kids have identity crises when they're teenagers or in their early 20s. And it's
it's unbelievable. Yeah. And I mean, so now it's Wednesday and you're scheduling your to be induced.
Yeah.
And you're still not telling anyone. And now we've had the baby. How much time did you take off?
So I was planning on taking time. I thought maybe a month, and then I would start checking emails or whatever it may be. My baby actually ended up going to the NICU for 2 weeks, which was very scary and very stressful, but also kind of comforting in a way, because we got a crash course from the nurses, and I got to, because of COVID, only one of us could stay overnight. So my husband ended up staying with him. I got a full night's sleep, and I think everyone knows that newborns do sleep a lot. So I was able to jump on email and kind of answer a few questions. And I mean, I didn't even say anything. My away message was like, I'm out of office. If you need anything, contact this one person, or I would respond. So I kind of gave myself the option to do either. Mm-hmm. And then just the way everything was playing out and how I was feeling, I just kind of jumped right back into work. It was not full time by any means, but still kind of having my finger on the pulse a little bit.
Yeah. And what you said was so jarring, that you had watched someone have a baby, like in your office, not physically, but right. A woman had a baby, and it was career changing. It was life changing. It was viewing her changing. It was interacting with her changing. And then on the other side of the room, so to speak, were four men who also had a baby.
Nothing.
And nothing changed.
Nothing changed. And if they messed up, they would get in trouble. It wasn't, oh, it's okay, And, I understand that everyone has a completely different experience with pregnancy, with delivery, with being a new mom, but it's not fair. I mean, and that's, a whole other conversation, is kind of justice for dads. I feel like, there are men who are truly 50-50. And I feel like I have that. Even during the week, he probably carries more of the load. Mm-hmm. But that's like 1 in a million. It's absolutely not expected that men do anything. So, and that it's just so strange to me, because my dad was always, sometimes a little more involved in my life than my mom was. And, just in terms of driving me around, taking me to every activity. And I never understood this stuff. And I think this is part of growing up. You're just so, siloed in your own experience. You don't kind of realize what everything's happening around you, and you don't realize what's being kind of molded in your brain without any experience at all, So this whole thing has been just crazy to me.
So, and you said your mom was like a really super hard worker. Remind me.
Super
So,
hard worker. Yeah.
yeah.
So my mom is from Peru,
Okay.
and she grew up, I mean, it's third world country, and she was definitely suffering, not suffering, but she was experiencing what people can expect there. Worked her way through college by herself, through scholarships and everything. Got a job at an engineering firm where she met my dad, and then came here, had me, and education was always the most important thing. The other thing with my mom too is she left her entire family to come here with my dad and then have me. And I watched, or now I know as an adult, like I was her entire life. I was her best friend. I was her hobby. I was everything, which I'm so appreciative of now, but that must have been so hard for her too, because there were times, especially when I was a teenager, where I wasn't very nice, and she must have been like, I gave up my entire life
Right.
identity for you. Are you kidding?
And I just remember we were talking, it was like, I don't want to throw away all of that I've worked for, that my parents have worked for, that,
Yeah.
you know, this whole situation of coming here and sacrificing everything. And then I get pregnant, and then I get siloed. And what you were saying about, or what you're saying about, the woman is siloed by coworkers, but also by way of herself. So
Yeah.
talk about that, because I thought that was so intriguing to
Yeah.
me.
And this is where I'm a little nervous about talking about it, because I
Right.
feel like no one does. But it's just something very crazy that I've noticed. And it's, you know, all of a sudden you have a baby and you can't drink a cup of coffee, or you can't remember, to call someone back. And it's all of these things. And I don't know if it's the current culture, because I can't be the only person who's like, I'm okay, like I got this, and I know there are people who are struggling, but it's very much I'm noticing so much used as an excuse, and then we're asking from support for mom's group or mom friends or whatever. And whenever you offer support, they're like, no, 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 I don't actually want that. I just want to keep complaining and make sure that you also complain, and, all of this stuff. It's so weird, because I'm in a mom's group, because I have no friends in Chicago who have kids, and I had no idea what I was getting into. And everyone's talking about sleep, 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 sleep. And, kind of the blessing of NICU kids, everyone says, is they get put on a schedule and they're just amazing sleepers. So at 6 weeks, I had a baby sleeping through the night, and it was amazing. And everyone's complaining. So I'm like, okay, well, we do this, we do that. And one time someone was like, you're just being a little too rigid. Schedules are too much. Like, maybe you should stop giving advice. And I was like, okay. And I'm just watching the rest of the conversation go and go.
We just want to
And no
complain
one's
about
giving
it.
advice. They're not even having a conversation. They're just,
Right.
everyone's just complaining and stuff. And
Yeah.
maybe that's what it's for. And I just didn't get the memo, and it's just more about venting. But
Yeah.
I don't know why it has to be like that.
Yeah, what I thought was so interesting, and I'm pretty sure that, there's going to be the spectrum of babies,
Yeah.
of babies who are colic and never sleep.
Oh my
There's
God.
a spectrum of babies who sleep the first day they come home. There's moms who have postpartum depression. There's moms who, have zero help, a husband that doesn't help, trying to figure this out. So we are not talking to anyone in particular. This
No.
conversation is not to anyone in particular. This is to take an interesting perspective and to look at it through a completely new lens of not allowing where you're at on the planet to define you in any way, shape, or form by way of your own self. So not only do we not want our coworkers to silo us and go, oh, that's okay, just come in at 11. And then all of a sudden you're coming in at 11 and you really didn't have any plans of it anyways, but somehow now you're coming in at 11, and it kind of cripples you away. So the crippling by way of others, but also the crippling by way of self.
Yeah.
And I saw this recently in a friend who was sick, and they had like an illness, but it was kind of like a low underlying illness for like 7 years and never told anybody about it because they didn't want the illness to change the way people treated them, to change the way they were seen as being strong and vivacious and capable and healthy and
Yeah.
smart and interesting. They didn't want to become their illness.
I mean, you hear that all the time. We're talking about COVID too. How many people lost their jobs and didn't want to say anything? How many
Yeah.
people, foreclosed on their house or whatever it may be? And they didn't want to be defined by that. They still wanted to be whoever they were or work towards being themselves again. But for some reason, when it comes to motherhood, it's like, nah, I'm good to stop here. Or, everyone applaud me from doing what I was doing before. And I get it. There's a lot going on and it is hard. But I just feel like I've noticed this is kind of one of the only life experiences or categories that I've been put in that it was like, okay, everything else kind of stops here. And this is all you're about now.
The new you.
So weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. And it's almost like, and I don't want to say it's a crutch, but it's definitely can be a kickstand. It definitely can be this thing that you can always kind of turn to, which is so interesting because my oldest is going to be 25, my youngest is 9. And, on and off, I've pretty much been a stay-at-home mom-ish for, 25 years. And I would never have thought to get a full-time career ever, because how would my husband be able to go to work every day? How would my husband be able to go on work trips? Who's going to watch the kids? I am the default. And I think it's so interesting when you take all of that away and you just have to figure it out. And now you guys are both truly equals because he can't say, well, they know you have a baby, just stay home. The kickstands, the training wheels are off. You're back on the road and just to figure it out. Like, hey, we both have to figure it out. We are both in the same boat that we were in 7 months ago, 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
We both are equally responsible because you're not going to default me as, well, just, take the day off. They know that, the baby has a fever. It's fine. You take off.
That's so funny because I had never realized that until you just said that right now. I was like, oh, it's just because we talked about it so much before I got pregnant that's what I expected. But yeah, maybe that is a huge part of it.
Yeah. It's like the world can't, no, it's so, and I just think it's so completely a new way of thinking. And that's what I want people to take, because this series that we're in now is the Women in Business series. And it's so amazing to me the way that I think very interestingly, you took it from yourself. You weren't going to cut yourself off at the knees and go, you just said, I am the same woman that I was, 12 months ago, 9 months ago, and I am not going to find any reason why is to not show up today. I can do this.
Yeah.
That's
if you don't believe in yourself, who will,
Yeah. It's just so cool. And I love the way, I love this way of thinking, this way of, because like you said, no one even realizes they're doing this. Be it HR, be it the owners, be it the bosses, be it the coworkers, be it yourself, be it your husband. None of us even realize we're doing this because it's just our society.
Yeah, I've done it. I know for a fact I've done it. And that's so unfair, but you just have to kind of actively, I guess, take away that power from anyone, including yourself. And whether it is an illness, baby, whatever it is,
And you think of it like, well, I'm just, explaining what's happening in my life, which, yes, we do have to sometimes explain. But if you think about so many other cultures where Monday, the woman's 9 months pregnant, working in the fields, taking care of animals. And, like you said, in a third world country, and they're 9 months pregnant with a basket on their head, bringing gallons of
Yeah.
water. They have the baby. And, a few days later, they're back at it again. It's like, it's just so interesting that so many other cultures, and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, maybe we should get 25 weeks of
Yeah.
maternity leave. Like, who the hell knows? But I just loved the story about how you just didn't define yourself by anything but you. I just think that's brilliant.
Well, that's what worked for me though, too. Like, I
Right.
want to make it very clear that I
Yeah.
don't think we should say like, get
No
back
one,
to work, like no maternity leave for you.
right.
Your body needs to heal. Like, trust me, I definitely did a little more than I should have, and I paid the price. But I, I just feel like, the world is not gonna make individual plans for you. You have to do it for yourself. And I knew, and obviously things could have changed when I had the baby. That happens all the time. But
Yeah.
I truly believed that I wanted to be a working mom. I still have a lot of career aspirations and goals that I want to hit that have nothing to do with my family. And so I didn't want
I love
to,
it.
I mean, it's
No,
true.
I love the independent thought. I mean, it's so amazing. Like, I love that you're just like, it has nothing to do with my family. Like, it's just so empowering to hear a woman speak like this, because I'm older than you, and I did choose the more of a stay-at-home mom route.
Yeah.
And I just always put my husband's dreams and aspirations and career and work ethic and what his responsibilities were, both husbands, 1,000% in front of mine. And there was no alternative. And maybe it's because I didn't see women in my life doing anything but that, whereas you did. You saw a mother who was an engineer, who was working.
The funny thing though, I think this actually came from my dad, because he
Really?
was always telling me, like, if you want something, you have to work for it. It wasn't even like you're really smart. It was like, if that's what you believe, like, you have to push for it. Nothing was just kind of just given to me. I had to prove myself. If I wanted to go on a family trip, I had to make a PowerPoint presentation about it. It was so stupid and ridiculous then, but I probably will do the same thing with mine, and it just kind of was ingrained in me that I'm my own person,
It's
and
so good.
kind of stay that way. I can add people to my bubble, and that just makes it even sweeter and more fun, but it doesn't mean that we're all one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so, so timeline, you had the baby
Mm-hmm.
and the NICU happened, which we both have that in common. My first was in the NICU for 30 days. It is a whirlwind, but yes, you do get to sleep. So there is that. And then, so now you're back to work full time. And so is there any conversation? I mean, because we're still in COVID, so you're still
Sure.
home,
Mm-hmm.
and no one knows you have a kid. So you're not sitting on Zoom calls with a baby.
I'm not. I mean, some people know, so I
Mhm.
won't pretend that it's been the best kept secret. There have been some cries in the middle of meetings, and I can't hide it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't really. I've just recently kind of shown the back of his head on my Instagram. Like, I'm very. I just want to keep that part separate, as much as possible. I think
Yeah.
it gets really tricky. Everyone wants to be friends with their coworkers, and I think that that's amazing. But especially in my position, it's kind of a weird place to be where I can't be too buddy buddy with anyone.
Yeah. Cause I mean, you're HR. I mean, you hire, fire, and you write people up, and that's awkward.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. And it's also, like I said, I just, I just want to keep it separate. If you actually, are friends with me, that all I do is go to music class on the weekends, and like, I'm not going to soul cycle like I used to. And,
Right.
I've made those cuts where I've had to, but I didn't share before with my coworkers if I went to brunch on the weekend with my girlfriends,
Right.
So it's just kind of the same thing.
Well, what I loved about it though, too, is the compartmentalization of, When you're at work, you're at work. We had talked about when you are at lunch, you're at lunch and you're back
Yeah.
with the baby for an hour and then back to work and then you're done. There's none of this ebbing and flowing and you're never really at work and you're never really at home and you're kind of torn. And I think that when we do kind of start meshing everything, because now we're in the age of the phone and the iPad and the computer and remote and Zoom and all this stuff. And I feel that my husband is working from like the minute his eyes open, he picks the phone up and checks emails and texts. And I'm like, what are you, the bed's moving like this because he's moving his arms to answer emails. I'm like, what are you doing over there? I just had to email this back real quick. And then we're watching a movie at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, what are you doing over there? He's like, oh, I'm just texting some people back had some questions and it's all weekend. It's not 24 hours a day, but it's damn near 15, to 18 hours a day. There's never,
It never
I mean,
shuts off.
it
And COVID
never
has made
shuts
it worse.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never over with. And so this has allowed you or forced you.
It forced me. And I thought it would be the end of the world. And no one seems to even notice or care that I, take a lunch break now. How revolutionary that I take an hour in the middle of the day. Are you kidding? But I used to think, oh my God, like they're going to fire me over this. I'm not pulling my weight. I'm not all hands on deck. Okay, if I take a lunch, then I'll work till 8 o'clock. And I don't have to do that. I just have to get my stuff done. Obviously there are things that are emergencies and I'll be more available for, but I can take that time with the baby too. And I think it's better for him too, that I'm not, trying to do everything at once.
I love it.
As much as I can.
Yeah.
Also, we're doing the no screens thing, which is, I thought would be impossible, but it's really made me kind of reevaluate the amount of time I even was just watching mindless TV in the background,
Yeah. And I mean, because I know that, and I have clients that I coach with regard to, look, answer emails for a block and then pick your phone up again for one block, maybe after dinner for like 30 minutes, sit down, knock it out. And then the phone's down because it's that. For me, I look at it like there's kids and that this is raising the vibration. And then there's work. Now we double the vibration. And then there's a phone call and the dog's barking and, Amazon. The vibration gets so high. But when I look at what you're doing, where you're like, and I'm in and I'm out and I'm in and I'm out. You're literally managing your energy and where you're putting your energy. And you're not always freaking available to everyone. And you're not a slave to this job. You're not, trying to, manage everybody at the same. It's just not possible. We've lost our minds in availability. We've lost our minds.
It's not possible. But also the funny thing is, it's like, no one actually expects you to do that. We just put these expectations on ourselves. I really thought this would be the end of the world by blocking out my calendar for a couple hours a day. And no one even knows. And, I think that's just something else that people need to reevaluate. And it's hard when you're not being forced to, because this is just kind of how it's always been. I feel so bad for, teenagers now I didn't have like cell phones and stuff.
Right.
But they do, like, since they're infants, you see these kids with iPads like everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how they'll be able to figure it out. Or maybe they'll just go completely the opposite and rebel against it and just say,
live in a van down by the river. Literally, they're all going to be living.
Line. You can reach me there. I don't know,
Yeah.
But yeah, really, that's kind of been the blessing of figuring out how to block everything out.
Yeah. I just, when I'm looking at it and like I said, what I love about it is it's forced you to reevaluate your time, where your energy is spent, how you're seen, the way you present yourself to the world, because we're so available. We're so available on social media. And I know, like, because I follow you, like you said, it's the back of his head or your puppy, you know what I mean? Like, you're very careful with what you present to the world. You're very careful with your time. Clearly, you're very careful with your story and the definition of who you are. I just think it's absolutely genius and it's beautiful. I mean, and not everyone thinks, like you said, not everyone thinks what Meredith thinks. There's been most people, you said, think it's crazy.
I'm very rigid. I am, all of these things, but I've kind of learned to embrace it, I guess. And it works for me. That's the thing. That's, I think, what this whole conversation is about, is just figuring out what works for you. And I
And
still
to
care about my career. I care
yeah.
about my dogs. I care about my baby and my friends. But I still, care about myself too. And I don't want to lose that either.
I just think it's so brilliant and such an interesting way for us to kind of look at that. And even, if everyone in the world knows we all have 4 kids, 3 kids, 2 kids, 1 kid, that doesn't define us. Our illness doesn't define us. Our relationships don't define us. We define us, and our jobs don't define us. And
No.
and we need to take back our time. We need to start reevaluating the way we think that we're multitasking, and we're not.
Yeah.
We're not, you know what I mean? We're tasking. I don't even know what the hell we're doing. We're take a minute, put the phone down, have a salad, for lunch, spend some time, eat dinner without the pads and the phones and the distractions, go back to watching a movie without your phone in your hand,
Mhm.
like really kind of because you're doing what no one else has done that I know of, I'm sure some people, but
Yeah.
whatever. And I think we need to look at it, if nothing else, as a very interesting model of what's
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah.
A very interesting model of what's possible, and the way we are defining ourselves, and the way we are letting ourselves cut ourselves off at the kneecap, and taking our power away because of whatever, and letting other people define us. And I just think that you ever see where they have, like, there's 2 twins and one goes to live with that family and one goes to live with that family, and then they find them like 30 years later and they see how much they're alike, but it could have never happened if we would have made it happen, because it would have been illegal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those, you've done this kind of interesting work by way of just the fact that your life is your life. And I hope that people that are listening get something beautiful from understanding that we have so much more control over our life, and the way that we are seen and present and we experience life, and the way we manage our time, than we even realize. Because I think a lot of times in 2021 and where we find ourselves, it's like the snowball's rolling down the hill.
Oh yeah.
It's rolling down the hill. We have no control.
It's crazy. But you do.
But we do. But we do.
Like I said, no one's going to do something for you. No one cares enough about your life more than you do. So, actually do something about it. And I
Yeah.
have help. Like, I really do. Trust me, I wouldn't have been able to do this if it wasn't for a good partner.
Mhm.
Also, I want to make sure, whatever, if it's the no screens, if it's just quality time with the baby, and he knows, like, yes, I have a job, but he's also very loved. That's kind of a constant motivation too, to make sure I'm sticking to what I decided was best for me,
Yeah, it's so amazing. Well, I so appreciate you coming here, because I know it's scary, like, you put your story out there, and sometimes you can feel like you're trying to tell people what to do, and
No.
we've said it 100 times, you're not. We're just sharing a different way of doing something. We all do things different ways, and this is an amazing way. And I just loved it, because I love, not being defined by someone else. Like, I had breast cancer 2 years ago. It's part of my story. It's not who I am. I'm vivacious, I'm healthy, whatever. I'm moving on with my life. Don't look at me, and ask me every time you see me, oh, did you have, how's the chemo? It's like, holy shit, it's been 2 years. I'm not that person, and I didn't even have chemo. And so I just love the story, and I so appreciate you sharing this just snippet into someone's life that
Yeah.
you've kept so private. But I appreciate you telling all the women and men that are listening, and so that maybe they can take a piece of it and implement it, or just see somebody differently, or not, malign a woman who's pregnant, or a man who just had a baby, or whatever. Just like, start really seeing the world in a new way. I think that you're brilliant, and I hope that all of your friends see you the way I see you, because I just think you're fantastic.
Yeah. Well, also, I just want to say, like, it's hard when everyone's telling you to do the opposite,
Yeah.
and you just shouldn't listen to it. You know what's best for you. And, I am the happiest I have ever been, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'm finally fully in control of everything. Obviously, the cute baby adds to it, but that really has to be what it is.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, thank you so much, Paloma Lopes,
Thank
for
you.
telling us your amazing story. And I hope you people out there listening get some really great pointers from her. And maybe I'll run into you or we'll brunch somewhere
Yeah,
together in
great.
Chicago and COVID lifts. But thank you so much for being here and sharing with all these people your amazing story. And I'll see you around town.
Yes, thank you for making this a safe place too.
Of course. Thanks, hon. Thanks for listening. If you would like to connect on a more personal level, head over to meredithwillits.com or on Instagram at Meredith with a Y for behind-the-scene footage and outtakes. Please subscribe and come back each week for more Meredith with a Y. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.